I read a lot of books, as many as I can. I read books I agree with and books I disagree with. I read books that excite me, and the books that bore me I usually put down. The most recent book that I read scared me, and those are usually the most important kind. The book was Extraordinary Evil, A Brief History of Genocide by Barbara Colorosa. It wasn't the historical content that bothered me. I was already aware of the events described. What scared me was the analysis. To begin, let me tell you about Barbara Colorosa, the author. She's a former nun turned education and parenting expert. Her parenting book, Kids Are Worth It, is the only one I've ever read that was worth a damn. Her work in education is focused on bullying, and it's from that perspective that she examines the psychology of genocide. I don't want to explain her argument. It's a short book and worth the read. But I can sum it up by telling you that it's her opinion that sibling conflict is to armed conflict is to war, as bullying is to hate crimes is to genocide. And war can be a tool of genocide. It's a compelling argument if you agree that bullying isn't an issue of conflict resolution turned sour, but contempt manifest into harm. To explain, bullying always includes three elements: imbalance of power, intent to harm, threat of further aggression, and sometimes terror. Contempt, she goes on, brings with it three apparent psychological advantages: a sense of entitlement, an intolerance towards difference, a liberty to exclude. These are only advantages insofar as they allow a bully to achieve their aims free of remorse. What scared the hell out of me was that in reading this, what she described was all too familiar. Not because I was a target of bullying in school, although I was, but because I follow the news and I see it every day. The political establishment in North America bullies the voters. It's the left and the right, but mostly the right. As he's the president of the world's only superpower, let's look at George Walker Bush. Does his relationship with the American people and the world show signs of bullying? Well, he is the president of the world's only superpower. Vetoing S-chip will hurt children, creating the subprime crisis will hurt the poor, and sending American servicemen and women to Iraq to fight for oil interests hurts those servicemen and women, their families, and the Iraqi people. The list could go on. Please feel free to extend the list in the comment section if you like. But that's not the harm I'm most scared of. All those things could be chalked up to short-sightedness or mismanagement. The real intent to harm happens in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. This is a president who orders the torture of people he doesn't like, and a president who authorizes the intelligence services to spy on his own people. And that's where the threat of further aggression comes in. Everyone in North America fears that if they fall on the wrong side of official opinion, they could end up out of a job like the Attorney Generals, placed on a no-fly list like Maher Arar, or sitting in a prison being tortured like Jose Padilla. What about terror? To quote, bullying is systematic violence used to intimidate and maintain dominance. Terror, struck in the heart of the person targeted, is not only a means to an end, but an end in itself. Bullying isn't simply about the target. The intimidation and creation of dominance extends beyond the victim to encompass the bystanders. What I mean to say is that we don't have to be targets of the bully to be their victims. If we are silenced or compelled to complicity through terror, we are as much a victim as the innocent Muslim being harassed at the airport. Page 82 of her book, there is a diagram of the bullying circle. I won't show it here because it's copyrighted. It includes bullies, henchmen, active supporters, passive supporters, disengaged onlookers, potential witnesses, resistors, defenders, witnesses, and at the center, targets. I looked at these different roles and I have recognized that I've played many of them in regards to the bullying by the political elite, and I have determined to place myself more firmly in the resistor, defender, witness category, and so I'm stopping my dry political tirades. As Naomi Klein says, we're not lacking in good ideas. I'm starting something new. There will be another video in a few days, but before I get there, I want to discuss just what tools Bush, the neocons, and yes, the elite centrists, read Hillary Clinton, and the radical left, read Stalinists, have in their belts. Bush has this in spades. Not only is he the son of a president, he's wealthy, he's Ivy League educated, and he believes that he was chosen by God to lead the US. Actions speak louder than words. Bush, like all professional politicians, talks a good game on tolerance, but the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division has been gutted, and the Katrina response was hampered by institutional racism. And that is only internal intolerance. Can anyone honestly believe that he's tolerant towards Islamic nations or Islamic people? What about South American socialism? He doesn't seem very tolerant towards Chavez. The examples of this are too numerous to mention, so I'll give you only two. Internally, he wants to kick illegal immigrants out of the country and put a wall between the United States and Mexico. While externally, when the international community holds a forum on climate change, he snubs them and holds his own forum. These things might seem petty, and they are, but they endow the bearer with a power empathetic people can never wield, to commit unspeakable evil and never feel remorse. All this talk has led me somewhere, and I'm guessing you know where. Because of this book and a number of other things I've been exposed to, including a recent interview given by Jack Shaheen, the author of Real Bad Arabs, How Hollywood Vilifies People, I've come to believe that North America is headed towards genocide. Like many genocides, the focus will be multifaceted. It won't simply be against Muslims. I expect blacks to be targeted, gays, liberals, the intellectual elite, and possibly Hispanics. Who knows? This isn't a conspiracy theory. I don't think anyone has this planned out, but the psychological groundwork is being set for something terrible. I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything except Bush and his ilk of being bullies, but I am sounding a warning call. Ask yourself, are you and your children being trained by our school and justice systems to obey authority without question, by the mass media to see cruelty and violence as routine, by our various leaders to dehumanize entire peoples by their unceasing vilification of Muslims, liberals, intellectuals, gays, socialists, America/freedom haters, and yes, even Christian fundamentalists? Similarly, ask yourself, if the US is the only superpower and Bush tells us that you're either with us or you're against us, where do you find yourself on the bullying circle when you say, well, I guess I'm with you? Where do you find yourself when you don't? Where do you want to be?